Greetings and welcome to What's Rock with Wolfie, a retro rock cast dedicated to the rock culture of the 80s, 90s and zeros. My name is Jason McRockface.
And I'm Rich to Right. That's like Rick to Right. The Rock. I still had faith in that one, I had to explain it. So go on, Chris. You can do better.
And I'm Quartz Crystal for.
Nice. I'm Steve, but I'm in a quarry. Just picture me in a quarry.
Oh my god. Okay, that's awesome. Alright, we have an amazing selection of films turning 40 this year, so we thought we'd just ignore all of those and discuss a film that turned 30 instead. We visit the town of Bedrock to visit Fred, Barney and co. in the Steven Spielrock live action production of the Flintstones.
You are about to embark on an extraordinary journey. A voyage to the very dawn of civilization. To a place called Bedrock.
Hey, the K vacuum forecast for tonight calls for light seismic activity and a 20% chance of meteor showers.
Where human society as we know it was born. It was home to modern Stone Age man. Home to the Flintstones.
Wilma, I'm home!
From Universal Pictures and Amblin Entertainment.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. They're a modern Stone Age family. From the town of Bedrock, they're a page right out of history. Let's ride with the family down the street.
John Goodman, Rick Moranis, Elizabeth Perkins, Rosie O'Donnell, Kyle MacLachlan, Halle Berry, Jonathan Winters, the BC-52s, and Elizabeth Taylor.
Fred Flintstone, you've arrived.
I'm only one man.
Not from the back.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Steven Spielrock presents The Flintstones. Directed by Brian Levant.
Flintstones and the Rubbles are modern Stone Age families. Fred and best friend Barney work at Slayton Company, a mining rock company. Too many companies in that sentence, I do apologise. When Fred gives Barney some money so he and his wife Betty can adopt a baby, Barney is determined to return the kindness. So when they take a test to determine who should become the new associate vice president of the company, Barney switches his test answers for Fred's. Thanks to Barney, Fred gains the promotion, but little does he know that he's being manipulated by his boss to be the fall guy for an embezzlement scheme. A heavy plot for the bloody Flintstones.
Yep, very much so.
But I'm just interested to know, like, what's your, where did you first see this film? Did you guys go and see this in the cinema?
Yes. We went as a group of friends and family from our sort of area where we used to live. And it was kind of like Flintstones mania. And we were all like 10 and 8, like our brothers and sisters and stuff. So it was kind of like you saw the Flintstones on Sunday mornings. Or when you were ill on 9 a.m. when you were ill from school or summer holidays on a weekday. So I was always there. And then sort of like the trailers come out and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this actually looks really awesome when you're 10. It's got over-exaggerated sets, music, what was it, brand new CG at that point. It only sort of had CG animals since before. So it was quite exciting. It was quite exciting to see a film on this scale as well. This is an immense production, whether you enjoy the film or not. It is insane. And it was kind of just sort of everywhere, wasn't it, this film? It was in McDonald's, it was in newsagents who buy stationery sets and toys and everything, clothes. And, well, I remember having quite a lot of fun with this film, actually, to be honest, when I was younger. Obviously, a lot of the things have dated and it's sort of, 30 years ago. I mean, come on. And I really enjoyed it, like, when I was a kid. So when I rewatched it for the first time in years the other day, I was actually quite impressed, like, how much it, like, hadn't changed in my mind. I don't know if that's, like, because I was holding on to that childhood feeling. Nostalgia does some weird things, and I had a lot of fun with it on this rewatch, actually, as well. I must admit, I'm not being the biggest Flintstones fan, but it was great.
I did go see this in cinema. And I have vivid memories of going to see this at the cinema. I went with my parents and my brother and my brother's friend. And there was like a marketing frenzy around this film at the time. And my brother's friend kept boasting about how much merchandise he had. And he kept mispronouncing it as Flintstones. And he'd go through the list. Like, I've got Flintstones slippers, Flintstones lamp, Flintstones Nintendo. And I was like, well, fucking say it right then if you're that big a fan. But so I've seen this film exactly twice. That was that time in the cinema when I was however old, and then I watched it again today. And my opinion of it today was surprisingly different to the one it was when I was a kid, because this film before today held a very specific place in my brain, which is the first time I've gone to see a film and came out of it acting like I enjoyed it, but knowing inside that I thought it sucked. It's like the first time as a kid that I went to the cinema and was disappointed by a film. Yeah, that's changed now though, because I quite enjoyed it as an adult, but as a kid, I thought it sucked.
My experience, I think maybe me and Steve in private touched upon this before, but like it is eerie in how much it mirrored Steve's experience. Went to the cinema on release, saw this with my parents, and I still have this recollection. I think up to this point, I was like, 11 when this came out, maybe still 10. I was in that part of my life where like every film you watched was like, oh, it was great, it's the best film ever, because you were just like walking hyperbole. Everything was just the best. And I still have vivid memories of that night. I think I was in bed and my mum was like just went and saw me because we'd come home from the film that evening. She said, "Did you like it though?" Because she could tell I was a little bit like quiet. I was like, yeah, and I wasn't sure in my mind. And my mum was like, "Oh yeah, I thought it was really, really good." And my dad enjoyed it. And I think it was quite a nice experience to see it with them, because I think it was probably the first time in a way. It was that kind of film. It was obviously like a franchise that kind of reached across the aisle a bit, where it was something that my parents were kind of around our demographic when it came out, when the cartoon came out. So they were like very familiar. It was established to them. They could appreciate the references and how they kind of captured, the spirit and the look of the cartoon. And yeah, I feel like what was exciting about this film when it came out, regardless of how I kind of felt at the time, was that I think we were still kind of coming out of the dinosaur boom from the year before with Jurassic Park. Lesser extent, like Super Mario Brothers, which had themes in it. And, it was around the age as well, that era when visual effects started to really kind of ramp up, like the scale of productions. And I think it was just a very exciting time to be going to the cinema. We're still in an age where really like the summer blockbuster was only really kind of starting, like that whole like year on year tradition. This is like pre-Twister, pre-Independence Day. It just had this pull to it. Like, I have to go see this film. There's bloody Happy Meal toys at McDonald's. There's merchandise, and I was excited. And I can't say I necessarily had like real love for the cartoon. I'm won't pretend to be the biggest Hanna Barbera fan. I do think it's boomer shit, and the only thing Hanna Barbera has ever done that I really enjoyed was the stuff that they put on Adult Swim that gets repurposed. Space Ghost, Brack, all the stuff that basically gets stripped from their hands, gets completely redubbed, made just weird and adult, and yeah. Oh, and the Johnny Quest theme tune, because that bangs as well. So, but yeah, other than that, probably Flintstones was the only real Hanna-Barbera thing I was really ever kind of, even as a passerby, interested in. And so, yeah, the film definitely, I knew I had to go see it. And I came away enjoying it more today than I did when I was 10 years old in the cinema. Like, it could easily have been like, oh God, I remember why I was a bit lukewarm on this when it came out. And now it's even worse. Now I'm bloody 40. But no, I really quite enjoyed it. It's got a nice, simple narrative to it, good little subplots, and yeah, it's just a good 90-minute film. So yeah, I was glad we revisited this, definitely.
I kind of remember the Flintstones watching it on a Saturday, I think like in between Grandstand and the news or something. I think they used to put the Flintstones on or whatever. And I just remember watching it there all the time. And I was quite a big fan of the Flintstones, the cartoon. So when I learned that there was going to be a live action version, I was very, I was very excited, but not excited enough to see it at the cinema because I didn't see it in the pictures. I waited until it came out on VHS and then I bought a copy to watch at home. But yeah, I watched that quite a lot actually. I remember how just having good times, just enjoying it and just seeing all the references that I'd seen from the cartoon, which is something I want to touch upon later because I don't think a lot of it works in live action, but definitely tell it's from a cartoon. But yeah, that's my journey with the Flintstones and rewatching it myself, and I'm glad it's kind of aged quite well-ish, and there wasn't that much in there that I thought, I couldn't get away with that this time, this day and age. But just had a really good time watching it and just being overly impressed maybe with the plot that they actually squeezed into this hour-and-a-half film. Because as I said in the synopsis at the beginning, it's quite the plot in this film. I had totally forgotten there was like a whole embezzlement thing going on in this film. I think it must have just flown right over my head when I watched it back in the day.
Ask a child what embezzlement means. They won't
So that took me back a little bit when I watched it recently for the podcast. Was wow, I just didn't. What they're doing here? This is crazy.
Industrial and commercial intrigue. What?
Yeah.
A class system. This film says things about class.
Even gender roles to a degree as well. It plays into the 60s and Fred's, chauvinistic, tendencies and how Wilma, rises up and kind of,
Yeah, I was glad to see that actually.
Independent woman.
But yeah, I don't know what you guys thought of the plot. Like, I suppose they could have just gone down the route of just copying one of the cartoons or throwing a couple of the cartoon plots into one or whatever. I don't know, something like that. But they seem to. I mean, I think this film was written by Thomas Parker, Jim Genuine, and even Stephen E. D'Souza.
Okay.
So they had a bit of talent behind the writing, and I think it showed.
Well, I think the thing about the Flintstones that's easy to forget is that it wasn't really a kids' cartoon. Obviously, it was very popular with kids, but like the Flintstones was the Simpsons of its time. In a lot of ways, in that it was aimed at adults. Like, it's not an adult show, but it's a show for adults. It was a sitcom that kids also watched in the way that the Simpsons is, and so the storyline that they chose for the film is not too out of touch with what the Flintstones was. Maybe it was like a step up from what they'd have done in the cartoon in terms of complexity, but given that it's live action, I suppose it kind of needs to be a bit of a step up. But it was ultimately, I think, the story and the tone that made me not enjoy it as a child. I do kind of wonder who they pitched this at, because it feels like it's pitched at children. But I didn't enjoy it as a child, and when I watch it now as an adult, I'm like, is it pitched at children? I'm not really sure. I don't know that it's pitched at anyone. I think it's just a production company put fuckloads of money into something and produced something that looks amazing and put it out. And I don't know. It's kind of hard to judge what the audience was for this film.
I think we can almost, like, in a post Barbie world now, we can almost look at this film now as kind of like, what, it kind of has, that kind of Barbie feel to it, where it feels like it reaches out to older people that have memories of said thing, or it's still kind of like, in the zeitgeist for them, they enjoy it. Also, you've got the young kids that have, familiarity with it, like we did with the Flintstones back in the early 90s. So
I think you're right. I thought of Barbie as well.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's a good shout. I think that's a good comparison.
Yeah. That really didn't cross my mind until just now.
Same.
Why? Like,
it just came out with that.
That's like, what the fuck? Like, it's so obvious. The fucking Toyland look. Or, oh my god, that didn't even pop into my head.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry. Like, when I watched this as an adult, even as a kid, I was one of those weird kids that was into the behind-the-scenes shit more than the actual movie. But this looks absolutely stunning. Everything has been made.
I know.
Like,
I know.
It's not like no found props. It's just literally everything has been sculpted, cast. Like, turned, fucking molded. Oh my god, it's just glorious.
Like every frame of this film, aside from the humans and the Californian desert, every frame of this film contains handmade stuff.
It's like ridiculous.
It's bonkers.
Wonderful. And this is before like industrial 3D printing. This is all hand carved, sculpted, and probably cast in fiberglass and plaster and stuff. Like, Jesus Christ, it's insane.
And they created it in a way, literally, as well. It wasn't just like real tangible objects, but again, they just made it to look like it was in a 60s cartoon. Everything's oversized.
Yeah, it was a living cartoon. It was,
brilliant. It just looks so brilliant. So
and funny we should bring this up because a few years back, a YouTube video popped up onto my feed, and it was because the set was constructed. You probably recognise the Vasquez rocks in the distance there. They've been in everything. Wild Wild West. I think it's even been in Star Wars and numerous other sci-fi and westerns. And because it's a national park, they couldn't stop people walking up there. So they used to invite people. There's actually a camcorder reel from 1993 of a family who went up there and were videoing the set standing, being built, and like they actually did tours of it. And they were like, yeah, fucking film it. It's like, could you just imagine walking onto that?
Right, literally, they've built something that does look like a nice little theme park. So why wouldn't you want to give people a nice experience? You know, it's like
exactly
perfect.
And like from what I hear as well behind the scenes, like Spielberg and Amblin offered these standing sets and props to like theme parks, and they didn't want them.
Really?
And Spielberg did the same with The Goonies and all the sets from Hook. It was all this amazing fantasy land that they built on the soundstage, and no one wanted the ships. No one wanted the Pirate Town stuff. And I'm like, are you guys fucking mad? You could have preserved that. 30 years later, you got fans like us going like, yeah, I'll have 30 quid to see the fucking sets, please.
Nostalgia wasn't a thing back then, Chris. It is now, but
it's just stunning. And when you look at aerial views of the Bedrock set, it's not even that big, but they make it look like it stretches fucking miles across the hills. Yeah. It's only, I think, like the Flintstones and the Rubbles and like a few neighbours, and they just do what other films do. They've probably got facades and stuff, and they modularly move it around to make it look bigger. And it's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, some tricks of the camera there. It's
probably literally like 100 feet of set, and that's it. That's all that did Bedrock, and a few obviously quarries. But it is insane. The actual level of production is mad, and we haven't even got onto the animatronics. And it's so
I could just imagine Chris watching this film, just his brain melting with all the stuff going on in front of him.
There's a scene where Fred, he's a waiter now for reasons, and Fred is in a position of being a twat to him, and he just says, "Bring me a clean spoon," and he holds up the spoon, and like it's a Flintstone spoon, like, and that's the point when I realized how difficult this must have been to produce, because they can't just go like someone get a spoon for this 2 seconds where Fred has to go. Bring me a clean. No, we can't go get a spoon. We have to fucking design and build a mold and cast a rock spoon that the art department then has to airbrush and highlight so that it looks like rock, so that you can hold it up and say, "Bring me a spoon." Like, it's crazy.
And even crazy, you've probably got the producers and the set directors going, we need at least 5 different spoons so we can get the right look for the shot.
Yes, we need the hero spoon,
and
then we need the spoons that we use in long shot,
Spoons for the extras.
Fucking hell.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
But you mentioned about like it's a live action cartoon, and like they did do a great job of like bringing the cartoon to life, and like, you know, one of the things about the Flintstones is like it's a modern Stone Age family, so they try and bring modern things into this cartoon, into this Stone Age town. You know, like there's cash registers, but it's all made out of rock and everything. You've got, you know, home conveniences, like the waste disposal machine, like, and this was where my adult brain was kicking in while I was watching it, going, I mean, okay, so we've got like this pig thing that lives under your sink that will eat all your leftover food. You know, it's the waste disposal machine. But obviously things go in, things go out. I mean, it's not really that practical, is it?
Where does it shit? Jason?
Exactly,
Is
you
the
know?
question we're asking.
Unless you have a smaller waste disposal machine, like a dung beetle or a lizard, and then the chain goes on, and it just
We're going back to human centipede again, Chris.
yeah, we are, yeah.
Human centipede.
Like large parts. I mean, look. It's a live action cartoon, right? So you can't. You can't have these conversations, but if you were to, like, it doesn't make any sense at all. Like, they've got electricity, they watch television.
Yes, exactly.
Why don't they power? Why aren't they more advanced than they are? Like, Wilma could have married the guy who invented the wheel, apparently, which means that they're living as a contemporary with the person who invented the wheel, and yet they have television. Like, come on.
And it's like, come on. Sorry, it's like, come on, like, you've got electric, you can watch telly, but you still got to fucking power your car with your feet.
Yes, and they propose steam power, and he's like, steam? He's mad. It's like, hey, you've got television. What do you want about?
That was one of the things I liked. So there's that scene with the TV when they're showing like CNN, and but I really like the little touch they did with that, where the picture is so like Game Boy camera looking shit. Like, and I love that. They could easily have just done it looking, fine.
It felt like maybe it was supposed to look like it was chiseled. Maybe.
It was like it was like an experiment. Like, it was the first time someone captured something on film. It had that really like primitive, like the early days feel. And I just really appreciated how they kind of just captured it. Like, you could barely even quite see the CNN logo. And I was just like, no, I like that. And it's like I really appreciated watching this time round. And that wasn't even like some big over the top thing, like say the waste disposal or many other like visual gags. It was just a really cool little design choice.
And again, the visual gags are like, we all grew up watching the Dinosaurs TV sitcom as well, didn't we? That was very similar. Yeah. Very similar aesthetic where everything's bulky and chiseled out of stone or marble or crystal. And then randomly there's like a modern caravan on the... It's like, but this was just... The visual gags are just, like Rich said, like, in the show, it just looks like Fred's TV is just a square block. But in this is actual chisel marks, like scrapes, in all of it. The crockery, the worktops, everything. And there's like a 40-minute documentary, I believe, on YouTube about how they made everything for this film, including the cars. Like, with motorised feet that moved on cogs, so the actors could sit in the thing, and the feet would move independently underneath to give the illusion that they were. Oh my god! Like,
that'd be CGI now. Just put it in post,
100%.
But the thing, this film wouldn't work with CGI. It works because its physicality exists in the three-dimensional plane. It works because of that.
It always feels primitive, even though it's like incredibly beautifully put together.
Yeah,
because you're not touching it up later. Like, you're putting this big fucking like on the volume. We're going to do like bedrock. It's like this is just like they just built it and plonked it down in the middle of a desert. It's
why I enjoyed this film. Like, I have no intention of seeing this film ever again. Like, I didn't love it or anything. It was hardly like, it didn't enrich my life. It's hardly a rich narrative or anything like that. But it's gorgeous. There's so much going on, and it looks like everybody had a good time. I did a little bit of reading, and apparently, oh my god, his name has leaked out of my brain. John Goodman really didn't want to do this film. He did it as a favor to Spielberg, and I kind of, that makes me love it even more because he's really good in it. And he goes all in. He's 100% in. Like, that dude is a professional. Yeah. Because knowing that he didn't want to do it, but his performance is that good, and it just makes me happy to see all of these people doing an incredible job and pulling off this incredible feat. It's just really enjoyable.
The cast is insanely accurate. Like, Elizabeth Perkins as Wilma. I mean, come on, she was like, what the hell? Like, it's just, there it is. She got red hair. She's tall. She's slim.
Rosie O'Donnell as well.
Rosie O'Donnell.
The laugh. Betty's laugh.
Oh my god, I was just on point. But like,
apparently that's what kind of got her the role. I even remember like years back when they did like the making of thing. I'm sure they said she wasn't like the first choice, and I think unfortunately some of it was because of like physicality. She's a bit bigger, and they were like, "Oh, that's not Betty," but because she just captured the laugh and the spirit so well, they were like, "Nah, she is Betty."
Yeah,
This is really good.
that making of is on YouTube. I watched it at work the other day, and it's got interviews with like Dean Cundy and all of the producers, and again like John Goodman. Oh my god, like the cast was perfect at this point to make this movie, and Kyle MacLachlan just hamming it up just beautifully. We'll discuss the cast later.
But of course, we can't really talk about the Flintstones, the film, without the the BC-52s. But like, this was at the time. But still, I don't know if it was like near the tail end of this ending of like these big mega films having a tie-in music track. Like you got Robin Hood with Bryan Adams and Everything I Do, Four Weddings and a Funeral with Wet, 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 and and the Flintstones came out with Meet the Flintstones by the BC-52s. They even changed their name.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. They're the modern Stone Age family.
That was a great gag. I actually had this soundtrack on cassette.
What else was on it? I've never looked.
They did like it was like a 7-minute long remix of the Flintstones theme, and the BC-52s with Walk That Dinosaur and stuff like that on it. It was just insane. It was madness. It's on Spotify.
Did the band know that Christ was gonna, like the Son of God was gonna be born at some point? Did they know that? Because they called themselves the BC-52, so it implies
there was a crisis.
But they know where they are, and are they time travelers? What's going on there?
Well, there's only 45,000 people in this world at this point, so
That's true.
And the Grand Canyon's going to appear in about 5,000 years. Was it? No, it's
Yeah.
about 5 million years, didn't she say?
Something like
over
that.
there, you can see the Grand Canyon in about 5 million years.
Yeah, maybe it's before Canyon. There you go.
There you
Canyon.
go. Well, yeah, okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah, there you go. See,
Kind of.
But I listened back to this track, and I mean, I remember the song. It was huge. It was everywhere. It got right to the top of the charts. I remember it being on the Now That's What I Call Music album I bought at the time. And
Jive Bunny.
oh yeah,
Oh no.
and I remember enjoying it at the time. But like the film, I haven't really listened to that song since the 90s. So hearing it in the film, and then I played it on streaming service and everything, and I was quite impressed actually that they managed to string out Meet the Flintstones theme tune for the 2.5 minutes that they managed to string it out for, because that must have been a hard thing for them to sort out, really.
Well, just put in voice sampling and running footsteps, and
I miss the days of songs that would just put like bits of dialogue in it. Like, I always remember like the Power Rangers album was like every song had like lines of dialogue. Well, what are we doing? This is meant to be music. I feel like it's a lost art form.
Yeah.
Bring back voice samples.
But yeah, like I mean, even in this song, I was like, I mean, I think half the song is just like instrumental because they just haven't got anything to say. I was just really impressed, really, with how they managed to string it out.
What's funny, one thing I did find funny about the fact they kind of revisited it and did like a modern interpretation. It seems really silly to bring it up now, but then just during the 90s, where it probably was a not so overlooked and probably been a bit more of a big deal about it, was that they obviously used the word gay in it in the traditional like 60s, meaning happy, fun, great, nice, but it was weird to hear it. They didn't substitute it with another word because they didn't want to confuse people or gay panic.
Definitely a conversation that was had in a room somewhere where they decided, where they were like, do we keep gay? Do we remove gay? I'm glad that they kept gay.
Oh, completely, 100%.
It's part of the song. It's like, why? Because if you remove it, you've only got the like you said, the boomer generation go, where's the gay word gone?
Like, the boomers ain't saying that. Just me, like, good.
in a different context,
probably. I get you. But
then,
it'd be on message boards back in '94.
Message boards. Yeah.
But could you imagine if this film was made and they couldn't get the rights to use the actual Flintstones theme? There wouldn't have been a point doing it, would there?
But like the TV commercial version of the theme, where it's like the toys, and they have that kind of like not quite the version of the theme, but it sounds
Yeah,
kind of like it.
like parody music, or they'd play just enough of it to like sell you the idea, and then just one off.
Legally distinct theme song.
Yeah, it's like,
toy commercial for Jurassic Park, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then conversely, would you watch Tim Burton's Batman with the Adam West theme playing over the opening credits?
I would, yeah.
Which someone has done. Someone has done the version of the Batman theme playing over that opening, but I can't. There was one film where they had to fight for the rights to use the theme, and I can't remember what it was. And they weren't going to go ahead if they couldn't clear the rights, and it cost them a fortune. But they couldn't have done the film without the music because they coexist together.
I don't understand IP law, but I have to imagine that if you buy the film rights to the Flintstones, the Flintstones theme song is not a separate.
It comes with it, right?
Like, surely.
You get the Jetsons theme tune instead. Just fucking confuse everyone.
Barney Rubble's ice cream truck plays the Jetsons theme song.
Oh my god, I didn't realise that.
I was afraid! In a minute, you're gonna be boxed.
Anybody want a snow cone?
Barney!
Brett! What are you doing here?
I'm getting lynched!
Oh. I got cherry, lime, rocky road.
Wait a minute.
I didn't know
realise that either.
Oh man, that needs a red circle and a red arrow. That does.
It's like the first couple of bars, but it's definitely the Jetsons.
Why did I did not pick that up?
Fuck, that's so cool.
That is really cool.
Cinematic universe confirmed. So
yeah.
Join the fucking Hanna Barbera initiative, whatever.
Initiative.
What's our Wacky Races film? I want my Wacky Races live action film. I'd watch the shit out of that.
I want Catch the Pigeon.
Yeah, fuck that pigeon.
Oh god, now I'm not going to sleep tonight. It's going to be going round in my head now.
Rami Malek as Dick Dastardly or something. I don't know. That'd be perfect.
Andy Serkis as Muttley.
Yeah, Anna Taylor-Joy as Penelope Pitstop.
There you go. Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm derailing it. That's for another time.
Let's get an email to some Hollywood studio. Not
Chris Pratt as the pigeon.
No, he's already got Muttley.
Oh my god, they're trying to catch me! I'm a pigeon! I gotta fly real fast!
I do Seth Rogen as the pigeon. Just like he flies off. Just does his laugh. Seth Rogen as Muttley would be amazing.
That would be incredible.
Retcon the laugh.
The same thing, but he's going.
Sorry. Right. Back
No,
on.
no,
Who was the alien in the Flintstones? And then they put Alan Cumming played him in the prequel
He
sequel.
did. What's the little weird one? Yeah.
Oh god, I can't remember.
Was it like Mel Blanc did the voice or something?
Yeah.
Obviously in the cartoon. I can't remember. But...
Mel Blanc was Dino.
Yes, he was.
Because in the film they used stock audio of Mel Blanc.
Was it like Jub Jub or something? Oh, Jub Jub. Was that it? The alien?
It was the Great Gazoo.
Oh, okay.
Good old internet.
Okay. Why is he in the prehistoric times? I guess aliens already existed. I mean, ancient aliens and all that.
Have you not watched the TV shows? It's always the damn aliens.
That's how they got television, see? The aliens.
Yeah, the aliens
there you
came
go.
down.
That's
Yeah.
why I've got
Technology.
electricity. Yeah.
So.
And if you can get even deeper in that, and they're actually not electricity, they're vibrating the crystalline structure of the screen, which is vibrating the crystalline structure of the screen and picking up the signals through.
Nah, when Wilma knocks that TV over, it's electricity.
It sparks.
It sparks.
I was just trying to get deep for no apparent reason.
It's a Flintstones podcast. What more reason do you need?
There have been many films where we deconstructed so deeply. Muppet Christmas Carol, for instance, and it kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper.
I think that film's pretty deep, though, to be fair. I mean,
Oh, mate, it's...
lots of themes to extract from that. I mean, it's Dickens, after all.
Kermit with legs. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, so like we're saying, like there was lots going on in the Muppets Christmas Carol, but there was a lot going on in the Flintstones. Like before we recorded, like you guys were saying, there's at least 4 layers to this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have we touched on all these 4 layers yet?
No. Well, probably some.
Well, you've got class.
Mm-hmm.
The film opens with like a fucking slave colony, right? Like,
yeah.
like those working conditions are terrible. And I was like, there must be a joke here. But no, that's where Fred works. He works, like, he's not a slave, right? Because he operates a Cranosaurus or whatever the fuck he called it.
That's pregnant as well.
Yeah.
So he's not a slave. But, like, there were people there who were slaves, right? Or is it just me? Like, they were told,
definitely.
like, come on, get back to work. You had a break 2 days ago. But Fred goes home every day. So there's something going on there. There's something happening there. And then obviously he becomes an executive, which, you know, is another layer above. I did say 4 layers, but I was being a wanker, I'm afraid. I don't have any more layers than that. Sorry. In my headcanon, though, I'm very curious. So I really loved it when you got to see all of Bedrock at once. It was like sprawling. I really loved the passenger plane, which was just a giant pterodactyl with a bunch of dudes on top.
That thing freaked me out.
And I'm really wondering what the world is like outside of Bedrock, particularly when they adopt Bam Bam, and it's like, oh, he was raised by pterodactyls. He's like this feral child. It's like, is everything outside of Bedrock just like Stone Age Mad Max? Like, is it just a wild land?
Well, it states on the welcome sign that Bedrock was the first to have fire.
So it does say that.
They have cemented that as the start of modern civilization.
Yeah. So I do wonder what the wider. Although there's a newspaper I noticed as well. One of the headlines on the newspaper is continued conflict in the Middle East, which is. I know it's supposed to be a joke, but it's kind of dark that they made that joke because it was 1994, but also the film is set in the fucking Stone Age. So, yikes.
And there's connotations there. It's like,
yikes.
I didn't even notice that. Oh shit! So,
but you can take it anyway. Like the Middle East of where could be the Middle East of anywhere, couldn't it? Really?
Quite. Yeah.
It's obvious what it's supposed to mean.
Yes.
But the Hanna Barbera like style illustration of Saddam Hussein on the front of the paper was a bit much.
Well, instead of the Hanna Barbera Fred on the news bulletin.
I
did like that. That was cool.
I love that. It's like twice, isn't it? You see him when he's on the paper, and then when it's on the
a wanted poster, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's adorable. I love that. I love those little touches.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So,
see, and now the question comes into my head of like, surely the newspapers were not daily because it must have took a lot of time to chisel. Chisel out their newspapers.
I think like one for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, one shattered on delivery as well. Hit the wall, so that's gone.
That was a great gag. That was.
That's the kind of mass production only slavery can deliver, in my opinion.
There you go.
Doing like another Flintstones movie now and like playing into the themes of the world we're in today would be quite fascinating. You look at things now, like with automation. Imagine like an Amazon fulfillment center, but it's just like dinosaur equivalent of like the fucking robots and shit. Like it'd be great. People pissing in stone bottles and just be great. So
peeing into stone bottles. Yeah.
Well, Amazon delivery guy with his feet out on the bottom of the van.
What do you think a Flintstones toilet is like? Is there like an animal and like you pee into its mouth? Like what's going on there? Do you think?
No, that's something I've never thought of until just.
So like some kind of dog who's just like yum yum.
Come get some. I don't know.
It's a living.
Maybe it's those damn dung beetles again.
Yeah, massive prehistoric dung beetle just waiting under there, and then it balls it up and it runs it up a hill and buries it.
The cast of the Flintstones really quite a collection of great talent actually for the film. They really rounded them up, and even like Elizabeth Taylor manages to squeeze into this, which was something I had forgotten that Elizabeth Taylor was in this film. I will talk about her a bit later, and I also forgot Halle Berry was in this film as well.
How do you forget Dad's favourite, Halle Berry?
This is like the thing that gave all of us kids weird feelings, and you forgot.
I didn't notice it in the credits, but like, was this her first film? Like, I can't remember seeing introducing Halle Berry or anything, but
yeah, because really her star really shone. I mean, her star really rose with X-Men, wasn't it? Really, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because films like Swordfish Net were after that, wasn't it? So this is like 94 for fuck's sake.
I thought Swordfish was 99, wasn't it?
Yeah, so this must have been
2000s.
her real breakthrough.
I mean, we're talking about her, so we might as well talk about how she performed in the film. But she was just the sex appeal, really, wasn't she?
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, she was very good with the material that she had. Her role was exploitative and shitty. You know, that's.
I actually forgot. I was watching this. I actually forgot she does actually turn face in this. Yeah, using
she does.
Terminology.
She does.
No shit. I remember now. Yeah, yeah. She took off the Craig. I always forget my McLaughlin's mixed up. There's Kyle, the guy who's from
Craig McLaughlin.
The guy from fucking Home and Away. That'd be a different film. The guy from fucking Bugs.
I always get my McLaughlin's mixed up.
Oh dear.
Oh, now I just want to see.
I still don't even remember which one's which. You're laughing at me. I'm like, I don't even want to say it. I just like, is it Craig or is it Kyle?
The one in the Flintstones is Craig. Okay.
Is it?
No,
it's Kyle.
I want to see Craig McLaughlin in Twin Peaks in June now.
We've all got impressions going around in our head of lines from films that Carl McLaughlin's in, but in an accent.
I also see Carl McLaughlin in Bugs. The old BBC Saturday Night Entertainment, it'd be great. It would have shone in that. I don't remember where I left off now. Shit. Yeah, I don't know. I've
She turns face, and she turns face quite early as well. Like she's a good guy for most of the film. She's just kind of going through the motions as well, because obviously she's a bit powerless. But she's funny and she's good. It's a good performance.
Yeah. No, I thought she was cool. Now I really did like her. Like, she kind of did manage, for the little time she had, especially with the whole switch from heel to babyface. She kind of garnered sympathy quite quickly. Like, you felt for her. You felt there was a bit of an inner struggle when she makes reference to him as Fred. And then she's corrects herself, Mr. Flintstone. And so she was battling with herself there and just wanted to I thought, she was quite a sympathetic character, and it was nice to see that, because they could have easily done this thing where it was fucking Wilma socking her at the end of the film. She was the bad bitch character, and she's stay away from my husband. Some really shitty tropey writing, but it's no, she was actually a nice character. And there was just one bad guy, and I was that's lovely. So yeah, I liked her a lot in this.
She played it with such sincerity. Halle Berry's a very clever person in real life. She knew she was hamming this shit up to the rafters, and she played it. And she's I'm just going to put my all into this. I'm not going to care. And then, it was great. And the honesty comes through that performance. It just really works.
Yeah.
And to be called Sharon Stone, that was a gag that we all...
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah. That was...
I don't really understand the joke. The joke is just, there's stone in it. That's a whole different... But that's a whole different woman, though, who is real and exists. I don't really understand... Were they going to cast Sharon Stone in that role?
That would have been really cool.
I'm trying to think. I think the joke was funnier because it was a real world name. She was massive.
I guess. Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things that even as a kid, I'm I see what you did there. But even now, I'm but why?
They probably just did it. I mean, she's the sex appeal. She comes in. She's the music. It's all the weird slow sax music. And it's who was probably a massive figure in Hollywood at that time for that kind of role.
I guess so,
Stone.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I guess so.
Box tick, done. Next. So, yeah. It was very on the nose, but I did go, oh, when I heard that name earlier, because I completely forgot that was her and the character's name. Completely forgot.
I was the same with Carl McLaughlin's character. I had a legitimate giggle when I heard him being called Cliff. I was like,
Yeah.
I was just like, that's like, I must have forgotten about it. And like, yeah, the name Vandercave is funny, but actually calling him by his first name, Cliff, it's just fucking hilarious in the context of the Flintstones. I had because weirdly, the Flintstones has normal first names, but like pun second names.
Yeah.
But the only random people like Pebbles and in this film Cliff have first names and second names that are rock buttons.
Yeah, I think that is literally it.
Yeah, because Halle Berry's character's Miss Stone, so she hasn't got a first name at all, apparently.
No, she's Sharon, isn't she?
Sharon.
So.
Yeah, she's Sharon, yeah.
Oh, was it? Oh, I missed that. Apparently I was too busy with the...
We had a whole conversation about it, Jason.
Like literally 2 minutes ago. Not even that.
Fucking hell.
Daydreaming about something else, apparently.
Probably Halle Berry, I'd imagine.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Or your mother-in-law being eaten by a dinosaur. I don't know, but that gag was pretty funny. I'll give him that.
Oh, when Frick is stepping over her, I love it. Steps over her, unties Dino, steps back over her.
What monster comes in here and does this? Undoes Dino.
Oh, you poor little puppy. It's just like...
Oh, it's
fantastic.
Just, think of something, Flintstone. Think of something. It's just his mother-in-law being eaten. And he just laughs. And he snaps.
That was very Simpsons. That was very Simpsons. That gag. It was like a very Homer kind of moment.
Yeah.
He just snaps back and goes, "Oh yeah, the kids and people are going to die."
Right. Well, you brought up Kyle, so we'll talk about him next. Might as well.
Kyle Craig. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, Kyle MacLachlan, who played Cliff Vandercave. I don't have a lot of history with the actor. I've never watched Twin Peaks. Don't really. I mean, I think this is the only thing I've ever seen him in.
You've never watched June, the original June?
No, I've never seen that.
No. Desperate Housewives?
No, never watched that.
No. I think
Bugs. Oh no, that's the other
Bugs. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, Bugs. Awesome.
Yeah. God, I haven't seen that in ages.
So, I mean, I've only got this performance to base my opinion on, but I mean, he played the baddie just fine, in my opinion.
He did do that.
He was quite slimy. I never liked him from the beginning, really. And, he just, I don't know, something about his performance. I don't know, maybe it was just his face. He had good expressions and being slimy and everything.
I like Kyle MacLachlan. This felt like a jobbing actor role for him. Like he does a very good job, but he's playing a very specific type of villain, and that's really slimy and charismatic and ruthless, and it's very good. I feel like it could have been a different actor though. Kyle MacLachlan doesn't really come out, particularly in the role, but he's good, and it's serves a purpose.
Do you think like the character itself could have done with a bit more then, or I don't know, a bit more oomph, or?
Not particularly. I think. Well, yeah, maybe it would have been a bit more entertaining if there's a bit more oomph. But he was a very specific kind of villain, which is slimy, yuppie, money guy.
I think it was great because they could have overdone it to a point where, like, say you brought up Power Rangers earlier, like Paul Freeman in Power Rangers movie. Like, that is to the rafters, like, hamming it up to a point where it is literally going up to 11. It's one louder. And I think the subdued performance makes it even nuanced and a bit like... Yeah, but again, like we said, it's jobbing actor. He took on the roles that I'm going to do this basically to pay the mortgage 1 month, But he just puts his all into it. And Kyle MacLachlan's just... I don't know, I like the 3 things that I've ever seen him in. I haven't seen the original June in 20 years probably now, easily.
Okay, anything else to say about Kyle before we move on?
I did like kind of similar sentiments really. Like I liked how he was kind of understated, just kind of a bit of a skeezy, like little slimy little shit that exists in the back rooms and the boardrooms, and he's not some big pompous like villain. He's that sounds like the prick you probably get in a corporate environment, and it kind of grounds it.
The background guy who loads the bullets and leaves the guns in the drawers.
I'm going to screw over his own boss as well. He's going to screw over Mr. Slate, pull the company away, run off with the money, piece of shit. Like, I think it's great. I'm glad they didn't go big with it. So,
And he does have a very distinguished chin as well.
He does.
He does.
According to the Dictor Bird.
And he wears very fine pelts as well.
Yes, he does, yeah.
Yes.
Very fine indeed. Okay, we seem to be working from the bottom to the top of my list here, so we might as well just carry on doing that. My next name is Elizabeth Perkins, who played Wilma. Yeah, again, same with Kyle. I mean, I can't place her in any other films. I may have seen other films with her in it. I don't know, top of my head.
Same.
But for the role of Wilma, it was the perfect casting in my book.
She was
wonderful. Wonderful.
I don't know what I've seen her in before. She's probably been one of those character actors that just appears in random movies and TV shows. Oh, yeah, it's her, and then you just forget about it.
She played the character strong. Like, she didn't take kind of shit off Fred, but she had that kind of sweetness to her like you'd expect from like the cartoon or a housewife based on a character in a 60s show. She just kind of really captured so many different sort of elements, really. And I thought, she just felt like she actually felt like a fully rounded character. She wasn't just like Fred's wife in it. She wasn't the cartoon. She's
not a long suffering housewife. She is
Was she like that in the cartoon?
A long suffering? No, she was.
No.
But she was playing like the 60s housewife.
It was kind of progressive-ish in a way, I guess, the cartoon.
She was a fully fledged character who gave Fred shit and didn't suffer fools, for sure. Like, she was definitely like that in the cartoon.
Yeah, I can't remember because I was just wondering whether like Elizabeth Perkins turned around and said, I'm not playing this character to the letter of what she was like on the cartoon,
I think she did for in all the right ways. So I do think, the cartoon character was well done. So, it's easy to think, look at an old show like the Flintstones, think, I wonder if that's all a bit like, because I think it was you, Chris, maybe at the beginning of this, you just said about like you kind of go back and watch it. No, it was you, Jason, actually, said about there's going to be moments here you think, oh god, oh shit, that's a bit awkward, that's not aged well.
I
for like the cartoon, like the film, I watched it today and I'm like, a lot of the attitudes in it, there was no moments where I was like, oh fuck, that's a 90s film. Never mind saying based on the 60s. I was like, no, it all translated well. It felt quite modern and contemporary. It didn't feel...
The only bit that I remember was he talked about his bowling team and someone called his bowling team a bunch of Neanderthals. Yeah. And he said, actually, my bowling team no longer accepts Neanderthals.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not problematic, but they're making a joke about stuff there, right?
Yeah.
And that's the closest it comes to not being safe. And even that is a very safe joke. But it doesn't. There's no problematic stuff at all.
But that's what I found weird, because when we started the show, I was just like, oh, here we go. I'm expecting some, even if they modernised it slightly for the mid-90s. But I was actually quite surprised how, like you guys just said, how progressive the female characters are, how well it's written when the men think they run the world, but they actually don't.
Yeah. It's like one of the first gags in the film is where Fred's talking about like, I'm the master or whatever of my cave and blah, blah, blah. And he's giving it all the big speech. Then he's kind of like, oh, Barney, you won't tell her, will you? She's like, oh, thank you.
It's that little understanding that...
Yeah. So he knows. He just wants to adhere to this image, but he's like, nah. She runs the house.
Yeah, like most women.
I think given the amount of screen time they share, I think Rosie O'Donnell can sort of be talked about in the same kind of breath, right? Like she's they're sort of twin characters that spend a lot of time together.
We said earlier about Rosie and how she portrayed Betty to the T, and she just nailed the giggle laugh that she's well known for from the cartoon. And I quite like that they didn't, like you said before as well, didn't you? Like about the image, but picking Rosie, it was a great casting just to show the world you don't have to be super skinny, you don't have to be airbrushed and whatever else to be gorgeous and do a great job. And she's gorgeous in this film, and she did do a great job of playing Betty. And it was a great casting.
And every little scene she shares, like her and Elizabeth Perkins, when they do that laugh together, I was like, yeah.
When they're cooking and putting their laundry out, I was like, oh my god,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Rosie O'Donnell has been the recipient of a lot of unfair bullshit for a long time. It's ridiculous that the conversation even has to be had. She looks like a person, and they cast a person in a role. I know we haven't got there yet, but I really like Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
The one blight on Rick Moranis, because as far as I'm concerned, he's above reproach, right? But apparently, upon hearing that Rosie O'Donnell was cast, he said, "Oh, is she playing Fred Flintstone?"
I didn't know that quote happened.
Which really sucks, Rick Moranis.
But not Rick Moranis, no.
But apparently he felt bad about it once they met and they got to know each other, and apparently they got on really well and she really admired her performance. But it's like, dude, come on.
Fuck, dude.
Fucking leave Rosie O'Donnell alone, for Christ's sake.
Fucking hell.
But to be fair, if you look at, like, she slimmed down a lot for this role.
Sure.
Like, when you look
she did.
It was great. Like, when you look at it's obvious, like, obviously she got the role and was like, but it's weird seeing people before they were known as big chat show hosts. Like, was it what film did my mum used to watch? And she said, that's Ricky Lake there. And I was like, no, it's not Ricky Lake. And then you forget that they were actors first, and then they went on to be chat show hosts. And then you know them more as you got older as chat show hosts in America or UK or whatever.
Oh, yeah, she was superb. Absolutely superb.
Well, let's get on to the guy that I've been most keen to talk about, and Steve just brought him up there a second ago, Rick Moranis. We've not covered a Rick Moranis film in this podcast yet, so this is our first opportunity to talk about him. And he played Barney Rubble. He was Barney Rubble.
You see that casting on paper, I think, you think, I don't know how. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
But you do think that because, he's... I don't know, like the Flintstones, it's a big production. We've said that, like Steven Spielberg's involved. They've got Brian Levant to direct the film. There's big name writers. We've got B-52 doing the song. It's a big production. But yeah, you're right. You're still like, is Rick Moranis kind of like a bit strapped for cash or something? Surely he could be doing a bigger film. I don't know.
It's quite a bizarre casting. Like, I actually agree. It's like, oh, okay. But then when you watch the film and you see him in makeup and the wig and stuff, like, actually, kind of works. And he does.
Yeah. He was short. He's short and small.
Yeah.
So, and Barney Rubble was shorter than Fred. So
yeah.
I mean, Rick Moranis just does a Barney Rubble impression for the runtime of the film.
Yeah, it runs all the way through. Whereas I think John Goodman started doing a Fred Flintstone at the beginning of the film, then it's intermittent, and then you got Roseanne John Goodman, and then you got Fred John Goodman, or sporadically throughout. It's kind of like, what? Okay, and then back onto Fred Flintstone voice.
Yeah, I think so. I think Rick Moranis is a little bit two-dimensional compared to John Goodman in this film because he is just doing a Barney Rubble impression, but he's sweet and their friendship is sweet, and Rick Moranis is just inherently likable as an actor, and that so it's nice to watch him when he's in a film.
Yeah, because we don't see him that often now, do we? So
no. I think even then, the Rick Moranis' nature as well, like how we view him. I think actually he's the perfect guy to push that plot along with him being like the selfless friend that. Does the ultimate favor for his mate, and you think you almost want to strangle him. Like, no, there's your opportunity, and obviously, good thing he did not get an opportunity. But he was perfect. He is so sympathetic and sweet in it. He just was. Yeah, I couldn't imagine someone else playing that role. No, certainly not Stephen Baldwin. That's for sure.
So Rick Moranis, my understanding is that his wife died, and so he decided that he was not going to act anymore because he had kids to raise as a single dad. And another likable thing about Rick Moranis.
I think he did his last credit? I think he did a voice role, didn't he, in Brother Bear? I think Disney. And then that was it.
When was the last Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or Shrunk Ourselves movie out? Must what, 96, something like that. And then they made a TV show out of it, didn't they? Yeah, they made a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids TV show on Disney.
Yeah, and I do
not with Rick
remember it.
Moranis, but
Of course.
but it's weird to think that he's not been a permanent fixture in cinemas or TV for nearly 30 years.
That's weird.
Like
Sort of waiting for his comeback, but I don't know. I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Well, there was that joke commercial with Ryan Reynolds a few years back, wasn't there? He came back.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, look up Ryan Reynolds and Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
Was it for Mint Mobile or
It was,
Aviation Gin?
I think it was Mint Mobile.
Yeah, and he just sort of like, introduced Rick Moranis as like, oh, that's so cool. And he just sort of turns up and does his bit, and yeah, it was nice to see.
He's like everyone's second favourite Canadian
Yeah.
comedy actor. Yeah, that was sweet. I remember that now. That was quite lovely.
Maybe Marvel will get him out of out of his retirement.
Oh, not Marvel. Oh no.
All right. Well, John Goodman's the only person left. We've talked a lot about John Goodman, really, haven't we? And his portrayal of Fred Flintstones. I don't know if there's anything else left to say about him.
I just really like that he didn't really want to do it, but he's excellent anyway. I think that's to John Goodman's credit, because you can't tell when you watch the film. He goes all in. He's all in, baby.
I think he was such a good casting. He never felt like an actor that was being employed to mimic the character. He was very much himself, this loud, just John Goodman. Like he was, and he just seems to be like the same person as Fred. It just that perfect.
It's just wholesomeness. I don't know I don't know how to explain it. I really don't. Like when you turn up in the Coen Brothers, you turn up in one of their movies, and like it's just John Goodman in a costume doing the same shtick he's always done. And then it's just again to look at him and like hear him. The guy was grown in a lab to play Fred Flintstone, and it's true. And as much as he hated the fact he was literally like personally vouched for by someone else, was just a bit like, wow, like I can see why. But was this like the height of Roseanne's popularity as well? Wouldn't it? Would have been.
It was, yes.
Yeah, mid 90s, early 90s.
Roseanne Barr is a real milkshake duck for me, because early Twitter days, I say early, it wasn't that long ago, I found out that Roseanne played Fortnite, and I was like, Roseanne plays Fortnite. I'll follow her on Twitter. And then shortly after, I'm like, oh no.
She was like super, like, with how much power she had behind that show back in the day. She was like super fucking rotten progressive person. And she just got massive brainworms. And
she sure did.
Turned into shit. So anyway,
So was anybody else waiting? Obviously, the film starts off with like Fred spent all of his savings on allowing Barney and Betty to adopt. And I was waiting for the turn on that, and I was waiting for there to be a selfish angle to it, or for there to be a reason that Fred would gain from having done that. But there isn't one. That's just a thing he did for his friend.
Mm.
It is incredibly sweet.
Yeah, lovely.
That's really nice. It's really wholesome.
Yeah, that is really, really nice. I mean, I guess it helps kind of almost amplify what his turn is later on when he turns into that rich, selfish prick. You kind of get a real polar opposite. What better friend could you get than someone that actually, spends their savings on you to adopt, and then suddenly, bring me another spoon. So it's a nice character journey for Fred. It makes you actually kind of want to.
It's a full arc, yes.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. They're a modern Stone Age family. Like the town of Bedrock, they're a page right out of history. Someday, maybe Fred will win the fight. That cat will stay up for the night. When you're with the Flintstones, gather to time.
Okay, cool. Well, we're done with the cast. Then we'll move on to our favourite moment of the film.
Do they go and watch themselves in the drive-through cinema? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah,
do they watch?
True.
They're watching the film.
They're watching their film of themselves. Is that what's happening?
That's how I read it.
Yeah, because the film finishes and then they do the whole whole end of the cartoon
They
thing.
do.
Yeah.
So that's a bit weird, isn't it? So did the events of this film not actually take place in the world of the Flintstones? It's all a fictional film that they're watching. Of
They're watching in
themselves.
Bedrock bring it into Muppets Christmas Carol territory again.
Yeah, it's quite deep that actually.
It's a little bit meta, yeah.
Too meta?
I don't know.
Like, how would they have? But isn't that
Are they movie producers and the fiction is that he works in the quarry? Or does he work in the? No, he does work in the quarry because you see him clocking out before they go to the drive-through at the beginning.
But is that not the case in the cartoon? Do they not do that in the cartoon?
They do, but it's less explicit. It's in this film. It is explicitly this movie starts playing on the screen of the drive.
You're going to see Tar Wars.
No, it
Tar
says
Wars, yeah.
coming soon. Tar Wars.
Oh,
The movie that they see, the projector starts up, and the movie that's on the screen.
George Lucas. That was good.
That is pretty good. That is pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a bit of a weird little wrinkle in this film.
I mean, I like it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Actually,
the reason I mention it is because I think my favorite moments are the recreations of the cartoon opening and ending because I think they do it very faithfully and it's very good.
That was what I was going to choose.
I'll choose the opening. You choose the closing. There you go. How's that?
But it was just really cool. Like, obviously, watching the cartoon as many times as I had, you've seen that intro and outro so many times, and then to see it done in real life. Or live action, it was just really cool to see, and they just copied it to the letter, and it was perfect. As you know, from the the big rib coming out from the restaurant in the drive-through to the throwing the cat out. It's the only time you see the cat in the film. It's like
the
right
CGI
now.
is ropey on that cat as well. Like they don't linger on it because it looks kind of bad.
You do see the cat one evening when.
Do you?
Yeah, briefly.
Oh, okay.
You see it jump back through the window.
They obviously couldn't afford the CG for that one that much. Yeah, and just seeing it was just a delight. And even watching it again now, the other day, it was just a delight to see it being represented in live action. It was just great. But I don't really know what else I can say about it, apart from it was great. Let's go to Rich.
In all honesty, yeah, my favourite probably mirrors what's been said so far. I love the recreation of the opening titles and the closing as well. Like, how can you not love that? Just seeing them replicate something that you've watched so many times on television, regardless of how much you might be like a fan of Flintstones as a cartoon, you know how those opening titles go, and to see that just nailed in live action, especially see on the big screen as well with that lovely arrangement of the theme tune, brilliant. But I'm going to pick something slightly different. It was more like a gag than a full scene, but I did like the kind of Jaws-esque kind of tease as you see that massive pterodactyl flying over town. And everyone starts running and screaming and going for shelter and getting out of the way, and it just drops this massive shit on a car. I was like, great, that's brilliant. I still have vivid memories of that in the cinema. I was just thinking, yeah, that's cool. Like big bird shit. Like, great. I love it. And it made me smile watching it even all these years later. So yeah, I'm going to go for that. It's a gag, not a scene, but
it's a scene. It's a scene.
I have good memories. I have good memories of that.
That was pretty good, actually. Yeah, that was funny. All right, Chris?
Very similar to you guys. I think the recreation of the opening and closing credits is a standout. And I'm gonna similar to Rich. I just like the whole physical production of this whole thing. It's just an absolute astounding achievement. But the visual gags to me throughout the film, like obviously Jurassic Park was only out a year before this, and they've got a play park called Jurassic Park.
God, yes, I have, haven't they?
With the actual letters used, carved into stone. And even as a 10-year-old, I was just like, oh my God, that's clever. I see you did. And then you got Toysaurus or Toysaurus instead of Toys R Us.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like, and it just keeps going. They just keep throwing all these gags, the names of banks, the names of like childcare products, like the pram that they're pushing and stuff like that. It's just all just rock puns galore.
Yeah, they have lobsters for lawnmowers.
Lawnmowers, yeah. I love a sight gag, and some of them go past so quickly that it takes you a few views and 30 years to actually clock what you're seeing sometimes.
And the vending machines have a bird in them.
The vending
it's just
machines,
forgetting the top off the bottle. And that's the only time an animal breaks the fourth wall. And I think he says, "This job sucks."
Yeah.
See, the same question went through my head as the pig and the waste disposal machine with those lobster lawnmowers. It's like, how do you care?
Do they go home at night, or is it like a body horror situation where they're trapped on these frames? Like, that's awful. Or are they jobs? Because the bird in the vending machine says this job sucks. So is it a shift rotation? Does that bird go home? Is there a whole like sub economy for appliances where it's just animals that also work jobs? I mean,
you have to wait for the spin-off series.
Where it goes into depth on that.
Yeah. And like again, when they get the new garbage disposal when they're rich, like they turn a box, they open a box, and there's this new garbage disposal. And in our world, you would put packing peanuts in there. No, in this one, it's a boar with real peanuts, real packing peanuts in the box. And I only just realised that the other day watching it in 4K, and I was just like, that's brilliant. That's real peanuts keeping his pig alive as packing peanuts to arrive alive. It's just like, my whole mind was just absolutely
I didn't even
blown.
clock that, and that's amazing. That's amazing.
My brain was on the wall behind me. I was like,
that's
whoa.
That's art. That's vision. That's craftsmanship.
Yes, that is the language of cinema right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was a 2-second shot. I was like, whoa. It's like you've taken 2 tokes too many on that joint that's been passed around. Like,
I enjoyed that it was just the same pig but thin as well.
Yeah,
it's like just a reset on the pig. Yeah. And there was the moment when Betty's washing the salad by squirting the water from the mammoth, and she says, "I'm so glad that you got over that cold." Like, that's really gross because it implies that they eat snotty salad when the mammoth's got a cold. Yeah. Does the mammoth get paid? Like, what's going on?
One more thing just popped in my head, actually, a favourite scene. You mentioned about the fourth wall break earlier with one of the animals, but there was the bit, I think it's at the beginning when Fred first gets moved into his new executive office, and they kind of move him in, and Miss Stone has got him signing off some of the first forms. He's chiseling them. And old Cliff, I'm just going to call him Cliff now to save any confusion. He goes out the doors and the camera's on the outside of the office, and he just looks at the camera. There's this big shit-eating grin, mugs at the camera as he shuts the doors behind him.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Kind of like, we got him. Yeah. He's our fucking mule. He's just telling the audience, it's all working. Our plan is coming together. I was like, that's fucking brilliant. Like, just to have a human character just one moment, and it's so just kind of like thrown out there.
You just involve the audience in that immersive,
pantomime-ish in a way. I just thought it's fucking fantastic.
That we're all in on the gag, and the filmmakers know we're all in on the gag.
We know,
and like,
you know, he doesn't.
Let's just enjoy yourselves. To quote Austin Powers, let's not overthink these things and just enjoy yourselves.
And that goes for you
and that
too.
goes for you guys too.
It's so good. Like only Michael York could deliver that shit, man.
All right, chaps. All we've got left to do is just give the Flintstones your verdict and overall score to go on to the Hall of Fame, the Wolfie Wall of Fame, whatever we want to call it.
Would it be the Rock Wall of Fame, or
yes, it will be for this episode. Yes, absolutely.
Or would it be the Stone Wall of Fame? We can just.
Or it
keep
could
going.
be that as well. We'll leave that up to the listeners' interpretation on whatever choice they want. All right, let's go Rich first. Verdict and score, please, dude.
So I really thought I was going to go watch this. Oh, yeah, I'm going to watch that film again I watched back in 94 and be like, oh, it was all right. Yeah, I feel the same way now as I did then. I enjoyed this considerably more than I did in the cinema the first time. I feel like it actually is a film that kind of gets better with your age. Mm-hmm. Like you kind of think, you know what? Yeah, some of the stuff is landing more. I'm viewing it not so much as like a kid's film now. It feels a bit more, I don't know, it just seemed to scratch more of an itch for me now than it did as a child, where it just felt like it was just, a film targeted towards, the little ones. Yeah, I said no real affinity really for Flintstones as a franchise, as an IP. This film, this is a film I'm probably going to go back again probably in the next year and watch. It's not something I'm going to watch again a week from now or a month from now, but yeah, I can see myself putting this on. Really, really, really enjoyed it. I love the cast in it. Goodman's fantastic. I mean, Rick Moranis, yeah, wonderful. I realise I actually have quite a crush now, Elizabeth Perkins. I just really had a fun time with this, and I'm going to give it a score of... Oh, shit. I'm trying to think. I don't want to go too high, but I don't want to go too low. I want to give it an 8.4.
Crikey, that's pretty high.
That's pretty high.
I mean, whenever I give a score for anything now, I'm always thinking about how we were all drunk with excitement of Top Secret and ended up making that into the best film ever made on our scoring system.
I mean,
so I'm just, you know,
in fairness.
Well, I mean, sure.
I mean, as we go on, we might need to change our scaling system to counteract that.
I mean, it's in stone now. Yeah. It's set in stone.
It is in stone.
We can't really. There's no going back.
So as much as I enjoyed this film, I enjoyed watching the production unfold in front of me. Like I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but like I want to be clear. Like it's not a good film, right? Like I'm not saying it was incredible or anything. I just really enjoyed the incredible production of it and how hard everyone worked on it. And it was also kind of exorcising a demon from my childhood as well, which I was very pleased to do because like I said, this is my first experience of a disappointment in the cinema, and I had to sort of learn how to cope with that as a kid. And it was the Flintstones, and the Flintstones has always been very attached to that. So I was pleased to exercise that demon, and I enjoyed watching it. But I think in terms of score, I think it's probably going to be a 6. A nice, solid, round 6, which is a positive score. I would like to remind everyone, it is a positive score.
It is a positive score. Yes, exactly.
I'm going to echo Rich's sentiment. I'm going to go for like a 8.5. Because reason being, I had a lot of fun. I had the reverse of you guys. I had a lot of fun as a child watching this movie, as with a group of close friends at the time, and we went together as like 2 or 3 big families. We went down to town and watched it, and I caught this film must have been 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, when one of our nieces or nephews happened to be watching it when we came round one day, and I thought to myself the other night when we were watching this, I was like, oh, this is gonna really, really suck. You know, when you just like, when you really like a film as a child and you revisit it properly, and sit down for the hour and a half, 2 hours. And I was surprised at how much I still enjoyed it 30 years later.
Mm.
And like we said, on a more weirdly complex level than we ever did as kids, because you understand, like, you watch The Simpsons as a kid and you don't pick up on the adult themes. And then when you grow up, you realise, yeah, the adult themes are always there. The struggle of finances and having children or not having children and all that kind of stuff. And it just rung really, like, I don't know, I just had a lot of fun with this as an adult rewatching it. And I was pleasantly surprised. And like we said, that goes with the production values, the sets, everything for this movie. It just looks gorgeous. It literally looks amazing. And yes, it's a high scorer because, again, I had a lot of fun with this.
My opinions ring true with everybody else's. Like, I have not seen this film since 1995, I think. So watching it now, I was a bit apprehensive walking into it. How is it aged? Is it still good? Is it going to be one of these moments where I have such fond memories or something from back in the day and I watch it now and it turns out to be shit, you know? And then I have that opinion from now on of, oh, it was actually quite crap and why did I ever like it back then? And just spoil all my fond memories of said thing. But it didn't happen with the Flintstones, thankfully. Great film. I don't really know much I can say, apart from, I had a great time rewatching it. And it was funny still, and great acting. And for a kid's film, as we say, a kid's film, but maybe aimed at both kids and adults, it was just pulled off perfectly. So, kudos, because it could have gone completely the opposite direction. It could have been like the sequel. But,
God.
Exactly. So, yeah, it could have turned out like that. But thankfully, it didn't. And, the effort they put into it just shined through, and it was just, it was worth it. So, yeah, I was going to give it a 7.5. So, I'll put all that together, which gives the Flintstones an overall of 30.4 for our Hall, Wall, Rock of Fame, whatever we want to call it. Where does that put it on that said board? Well, it goes in between, interestingly, it goes in between Dog Soldiers and Lake Placid.
Okay.
At number 13 on
Seems
the board.
fair.
It's better than Dog Soldiers.
Okay, that feels all right.
Correct. Feels good. It feels good putting the Flintstones on the board.
I will say a small thing as well. I mean, one thing that came out obviously from this film, like many films of that time, was all the merchandise. The line of action figures. The Fred figure is a work of art. If you want a beautifully constructed John Goodman action figure, it's insane, the likeness. I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, this is almost interchangeable. You could like put him in a flannel shirt and, have him be Dan from Roseanne. Perfect.
Is there any other occasion where John Goodman was going to have a line of toys with his likeness on them? Because I kind of respect John Goodman for not, like, when he did this film, he was done, and when they proposed the sequel, he was like, please don't make me do that, and he respectfully requested to not be involved. And I feel like that's the kind of bullshit that John Goodman didn't want to find himself trapped in, is being Fred Flintstone forever and having a line of toys with his face on them forever, because it does look super weird having a John Goodman toy. And I feel like he was right to try and get away from that as soon as he could.
The figure's fucking horrifying in the best way imaginable.
To be fair, a line of Roseanne action figures is something that NECA would push out.
Yeah.
They're doing a Murder, She Wrote figure. Come on. Right?
They are.
They've done an Angela Lansbury cartoonified figure, complete with accessories and everything.
Wow.
How long before they go and do, Dan and Roseanne from Roseanne?
Well, they won't do Roseanne, no.
Alright, we are done for another episode. Thank you ever so much for joining us and listening to our rambles. We greatly appreciate your company. If you've liked what you've heard and you'd like to support us monetarily, then you can do so over on our coffee page. It's coffee.com/thewolfiepod. Anything that you do donate to the show does go back to the show. So that would be much appreciated. But if you can't do that right now, just give us a rating or a review on your podcast app. It really does go a long way with helping out by letting other people know that, they'll have a good time listening to us ramble. But yeah, also don't forget to go and take a look at our website or come and join us on our Discord. We'd love to say hello. You can find links to all of this in the show description. Guys, it's that time to say goodbye.
Yabba dabba doo. I like talking to you. Come on, it's the Simpsons. Come on.
Those who live in stone houses can throw crockery. I'm fresh out of ideas.
Let me just reach into the deep well that is Flintstones catchphrases. Nope. There is Yabba Dabba Doo, and that is it. So I guess I'll go with Yabba, as we say, Dabba Doo.
Shabba.
Oh God. Shabba.
Oh, when they did the recorrection, like the true crime kind of thing, and the reconstruction, and he's like yabba yabba yabba. It's just like that was very Simpsons. That reconstruction of like Homer. Like,
look at me, I'm embezzling.
That was so good,
and he just keeps repeating it like.
I'm taking it back there. That's my favourite scene in the film.
There you go. Well, all that's left for me to say is that my name has been Jason, and you've been listening to What's Rock with Wolfie, a rock culture podcast to the max. Take care out there. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Bye.